Let's talk about how I would design a scalable REST API using .NET Core. Well, first of all, I would make sure to use the latest .NET Core version. At the time of recording, that is .NET Core 8. I would also make sure to use the new minimal API feature introduced in that version. It allows you to get started with building your API very quickly, and after that, I would create a new folder for my project and open it in Visual Studio. Then I would create a new API project using the .NET CLI. I would call it my API. And then I would navigate to the file called program.cs. And this is where we're going to add the new minimal API. So first of all, we need to remove this line that uses the Kestrel server. And then we need to replace this with the new create builder method. The first thing that I am going to do is to add the services I need to my service collection. So that would be ADDMVC. And then I'm going to configure my API versioning. So I want to have a default version. The next thing that I'm going to do is to configure the host. So I want to make sure that I'm using HTTPS, and for that, I need to create a self-signed certificate, which I'm going to store in a PFX file. Now I can start adding controllers to this API. So let's add a controller called values controller, which will have two actions. One action will return a list of values, and the other one will return a value by. Now I need to add the required attributes to make this work. So for the first action, I need to add the get attribute. And for the second one, I need to add the get attribute along with the required ID parameter. And then for the response, I need to add the issueSyn attribute. Now I can run this application using the .NET Run command, and I should see the default welcome page of ASP.NET Core. If I go to Swagger, I should see the two endpoints that I defined in my controller. And if I click on them, I should see the description that I added in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, you might also like another one where I talk about how to build a web API from scratch. Now let's talk about scalability. In order to scale this application, I would use the following approach. First of all, I would use a package like Serilog to write all the logs in a structured format to a file or to a database. For the file storage, I would use a package like Serilog Scribe. The next thing I would do is to set up a background service that will run a scheduled task, like removing old log files or sending reports using the Hangfire library. To set up the scheduled task, I would create a new service class that implements the escoped. Then I would create a new hosted service class that will contain the configure method, which will be called when the service is started. Inside of this method, I would create a new background service call and then add the new background service that I created before. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video, you might also like another one where I talk about how to implement the factory pattern in .NET